Hello ladies and gents, I hope you're doing well today. Let me first start by saying there's going to be a structure to this video. I'm going to talk about a few genres of gaming and share my personal experiences with them. I will also be discussing the broader impact they may have on our psyche. Let me also mention that this is not a completely all-inclusive list. Of course, there's other types of video games. However, these are the ones that I've done research on and invested my personal time in. Let me also implore you to show this video to anyone who doesn't understand why video games are so valuable to so many. First off, we have first-person shooters. Examples are Call of Duty, Halo, and even some that branch off and do their own thing, like the Borderlands series. Secondly, action games like Devil May Cry and Uncharted. Thirdly, sports games like NBA 2K, college football, and Madden. Fourthly, we have racing games. Examples include Forza, the Dirt series, and Need for Speed. And then lastly, my favorite genre of games, RPGs. Examples include the Mass Effect series, Dragon Age series, and Baldur's Gate. Now that you're familiar with the topic and what specifically I'm going to be discussing, let me give you a brief overview of what the thesis of this video is going to be. Video games are one of the best forms of escapism. Let me first define the word escapism. According to the Oxford Dictionary, escapism is the tendency to seek relief or a reprise from an unpleasant reality. Video games offer that escape. Said in the introduction of this video, I will begin going in order, starting with first-person shooters. I think most of us as kids have explored playing Army or War outside. I mean, have you ever found a stick that looked sort of like a gun and pretended to shoot with it? Aside from what the media would tell you, first-person shooters, in large part, are much like us adults playing war in the comfort of our own home. It also plays a little bit into a power fantasy, and some first-person shooters like Doom play even more into this fantasy, where you can get shot and not immediately die, which is, in the real world, not the case more often than not. You also have hyper-realistic battle simulators like that of Call of Duty, but if that's not your thing, you could play a sci-fi first-person shooter with deep lore like Halo, for instance. First-person shooters are shown to boost basic things like hand-eye coordination, but also spatial awareness and attention to detail. My favorite genre of these games would have to be Borderlands. I've played all the Borderlands couch co-op with my father, and some of my most fond memories come from sitting on the couch with him, playing those games, leveling up our characters, and building to our playstyle. Number 2 on our list is action games. Action games, for the most part, what you experience is somewhat of a power fantasy, in addition to ideally masterful storytelling and beautiful set pieces. Action games have been proven to improve your attention and your ability to process information visually, which this can be useful in everyday things like driving or reading fine print. My favorite of these games would have to be Devil May Cry 4. Sports games. This genre is enjoyed by hardcore and casual gamers alike, and perhaps represents escapism the best, because in sports games you can be the athlete you always wished to be but couldn't for whatever reason. You can take your favorite team, even if they previously have done poorly in the past, and bring them to the heights that they've never reached before in real life. According to the research that I've done, sports video games help in the release of dopamine, which is the reward center of your brain, as well increasing your sense of immersion, reducing levels of stress, which I will go into further when I discuss RPG games. These games are fairly dominated by EA, However, my favorite of these titles are the NCAA games and the recently released College Football 2025. I grew up in the South, so college football was always intrinsically linked to the identity of the folks down here, and thus part of my childhood. I have no strong affinity to any team, but I do genuinely love the game of American football. In College Football 2025 and the NCAA games that came before it, they put you directly on the field and in control of how the game unfolds. And as I mentioned before, even if your favorite football team is Kennesaw State University, which is one of the worst win percentage rates of any college football team in any league, you can still feasibly win the National College Football Championship using them as your team. Also, there tends to be a competitive element in these games where people like to test their skills against other skillful players. For those who want to spend an unwise amount of money, they also have game modes like Ultimate Team. This is a game genre that I do have a major gripe about, in which Electronic Arts pretty much has a monopoly on these kinds of games. And as seen with Madden, if they want to, they can get away with releasing virtually the same game with an updated roster the following year. Still, numbers don't lie, and there is evidence that these games are treasured by many, including myself. Now let us discuss racing games. I have fond memories of this genre of games, mainly because when I was young, I had friends who would love to come over and play Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 on the original Xbox console. I was even allowed to bring this game to school in the 5th grade and played it, and we had a racing tournament. Racing games have been proven to help things like your working memory and even increasing hippocampal size, according to a 2021 study, which could decrease the chance of you developing mental health disorders like depressions, as reduced hippocampal gray matter is a visual indication of such conditions. My personal favorite of these games would have to be the Dirt series. I've always had an interest in rally races, specifically because of my love for the Mitsubishi Lancer Eclipse. These cars, as well as Subaru WRXs, were often used in rally races in the early to late 2000s. Let's also touch on the fantasy of being able to race a car that you will likely never own, again offering a temporary escape from your reality. Lastly, we have RPG games. Examples include Mass Effect, Baldur's Gate, and Dragon Age. Lore and world building are perhaps the most important components of RPG games. RPG games need to be engrossing and have a seamless sense of immersion for the player to feel like you're a part of their world. Building elements like religions, beliefs, and opinions of the people that live in the world make the world feel somewhat alive, and thus your ability to interact with said world is much more immersive. These games also have a positive impact on your mental health, as they can boost self-esteem and reduce stress. This is likely due to the validation that you get from accomplishing tasks inside the game and being praised by NPCs. My personal favorite of these games has to be Dragon Age Origins. Bit of an odd choice, I will admit, but there's a reason for this. The world building of Dragon Age and its mix of dark fantasy elements always get me completely immersed. The character dialogue and banner in this game is completely unmatched, in my opinion. My two favorite characters are Alistair and Morgan. However, I could make a video about this game alone. But to be brief, I'll give you a small overview of Morgan's character arc. She's a love interest for your male character, the protagonist, the Grey Warden. When she first meets you, she seems to toy with you and your group. Then she's sent with you by her mother. She seems rather cold and distant. However, in this game, your companions react to the decisions you make. And as Morgan's affinity increases, her thoughts of you and even her feelings for you also increase. Before you know it, she opens up to you, telling you that she cares more about you than she would care to admit. And that scares her. At the end of the game, in the final battle, she admits that she does love you, and she always will. But she can't be with you because there's something that she has to do, and we can't be a part of it. This gut-wrenching interaction with an NPC that you've spent no doubt countless hours with leads immersion to the point where you can have genuine in real life feelings about the events that occur in game. Let me make myself clear, by no means am I saying that it's healthy or beneficial to have romantic feelings for fictional characters. However, it's remarkable that a game can make you care about what happens to these fictional characters and makes you want to pursue their story as far as you can. In conclusion, video games can offer you an escape from the monotony of everyday life. From your boring 9-to-5 to scaling a mountain to slay a dragon, video games can help you, even if it's just for the smallest increment of time, to be someone else and live vicariously through your character. I should also mention that the music that I used in this video will be linked in the description below, as well as my sources for the information that I provided. And anyway, I've been your Noisy Cricket, noisy as always, and I hope y'all have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.